Because this is our last program of 2022, I wanted to ask the two of you to take a look back and a look ahead at what the year has brought and see what you see coming in 2023. So, Kathy, let's start with you. Some of the biggest stories affecting journalism in this year for you.
Well, I think some of them we've touched on. I guess we touch on them all the time. I mean, obviously, the continued animosity towards the press globally. I mean, this is a world war for free speech, and it's going to take a while to win, but we have to win it. And but I think it's complicated by the fact that even in a rich country like ours, and one that has prided itself on holding up the press, constitutionally protecting it, there are big threats to the press, and the biggest one is economic. The continued layoffs that we've talked about, the hollowing out of newsrooms, doesn't help the public, and it doesn't help build trust. The other story I think that is a big one is really Twitter, and what I'll be watching for, because to me it is kind of like the synecdoche for all social media. Is this going to be a turning point either in how we engage with social media or how our governments and public policy officials engage with social media? And that, I think, will say a lot about how media in general, the state of media health going into 2023.
Sort of to piggyback off of that, I would say one of the biggest concerns I see is what's going to happen with local news. Mm-hmm. I was reading some stories over the weekend about the midterm elections that just ended, but not just the national midterm elections, but what was happening locally in the state houses, what was happening in the school boards, what was happening on the city council, and the fact that you had in many places these sort of national you could say they're PACs or whatever who have sort of pushed themselves into local elections, in particular school boards that have agendas that are now sort of, a lot of it is around LGBTQ issues, around critical race theory, that sort of thing. And the fact that a lot of these stories are now being talked about, but why weren't they talked about significantly, in a way that you talk about nationally before the election. And I think that's what's happening in media, is that from an economic standpoint, we don't have enough reporters on the ground. We don't have enough reporters in local news, be it local television, be it newspapers, be it startups or whatever, who are dealing with these issues. And then we find out after the fact that, hey, school boards have been taken over by people who have an agenda that doesn't necessarily fit with the entire community, but a small segment of the community. And so I think that we're going to see more and more of that as we see the economic ramifications of the recession and other things on the journalism industry. Is
that a challenge to our journalists here in our local market too?
It's a challenge to.
No, I'm saying, are you issuing a challenge?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Is that Dr. Perry saying this is what we need to be looking at here too?
These are the things that we really need to be looking at.
It's a challenge to our policymakers, because the reason you have fewer boots on the ground mm-hmm. is that you have less ad revenue. The reason you have less ad revenue is that the digital economy and the ability to micro-target has taken that money away. So what do we do? That's why I say the decisions that we make about social media and the questions we answer are going to really set a course for us.
And the legal safeguards have been taken away in terms of allowing monopolies to develop, which does away with any ability to be able to have more competition.